hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 6 all-new neutral fall DIYs. My theme today is neutral with a little bit of soft green thrown in for fall, which I think turned out really beautiful. So for the first DIY, we're going to DIY one of the metal acorn signs from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to use one of their plain square blank signs for these. I love these for crafting. I'm going to make my a standing sign, so I don't need the bead hanger on the top. So I just use my pliers to remove that. I'm going to make it a standing sign with some of this Dollar Tree craft wood. And I'm going for really kind of a farmhouse, beautiful vibe on these DIYs today. And so I want to be using like a lot of warm colors, a lot of like browns, natural materials, and a little bit of book pages as well. So I'm using some antique wax by Waverly, and I'm just going to stain the frame of this. I'm going to cover the back of it to give it a really fun background behind the acorn. This sign is a little bit smaller than the acorn sign, which is going to work out perfectly. Kind of give it a 3D vibe. I just use a baby wipe to wipe off my excess antique wax by Waverly. And then I'm also going to stain the wood stand to match. This is just a piece of their like chunky slat wood that they have at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree, and you can see how beautifully it stains, and it's a perfect size for a base for the sign. Now for the acorn sign, I don't need the hanger on this one either, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. I'm also going to kind of sketch out where I want the acorn to be, just with an ink pen, so I know where to kind of put the background material. It's not going to sit super far off the sign, but it is enough to put something small and decorative, and so I'm going to use some of that floral moss they have at Dollar Tree right now. It is like the brown floral moss. It's not my favorite, but it does work well for this project. I just attach it to the sign with a little bit of hot glue, and I don't really care if you can see a little bit of like the ivory sign behind it. I just want to get as much of it covered as I can with this moss. I think it's going to go great with the acorn feel for fall. But I don't want to waste the floral moss by putting it underneath the acorn. And again, there's not a lot of room, like depth. And so that's one reason why this floral moss works pretty well, because it's nice and thin. I just put a little bit of hot glue everywhere I'm going to need it, and just kind of push that down inside. I haven't been finding the Spanish moss and the reindeer moss at my Dollar Trees at all lately. I don't know if there's a supply issue with that. I did notice that I could order them online, but I don't want to order like a gigantic case, and because some people on there, like on their reviews, have said they got like ugly brown dead moss. But I hope they get it back in sooner. I'm gonna have to check out somewhere else. I think one of you guys said Walmart has it as well. So you can see that the tip of the acorn cap and the very tip of the acorn are going to overlap the frame a little bit, but that's totally fine. I like that look. Now, I just picked up a book at the Dollar Tree, and I was trying to like look at some pages that didn't have something crazy written on it. You might be better off trying to like select your book. I just grabbed one. And I'm going to cover the acorn nut itself with the book page. So I'm just going to lay the metal acorn on top and sketch that out with an ink pen. So I know how to cut that down. We're going to like age and dye the book page too to make it look really pretty for fall. So I just cut along that line. I was trying to get like as much words as I can, like less like chapters or subtitles or anything like that. And I'm going to dye it with some antique wax by Waverly mixed with some water. I just want a light stain. You can also do this with like tea bags, coffee, stuff like that, which I really didn't have anything available. So antique wax actually worked really well for it. The only thing is it gets the paper really wet. So I use my heat gun to dry it thoroughly. And then for a little more detail, I have like a bronze Sharpie, and I'm just going around the very edges to kind of give it almost that burnt edge look around the sides, just to give it a little bit more character. That looks really good. Now I can just go ahead and attach it to the metal acorn with some Mod Podge. I always really enjoy the galvanized metal shapes for seasonal items at the Dollar Tree, but sometimes it can be a little hard trying to figure out what to DIY with them. I think this was a really fun way. So I just smoothed that out on the Mod Podge, trying to get as less wrinkling as I can. And then we're going to use just lunch bags from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using these a lot today. I really love how these craft. And I just put a couple together, and I'm just cutting out strips about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches wide. And I just take a strip and crinkle it. I just broke it at the end, so I have like just a crinkled strip like that. And I'm gonna cover the acorn cap with this. It's gonna give it a really fun texture, and I'm a big fan of these paper bag DIYs. We're gonna have a lot of them in today's video, and I hope you enjoy them. So that looks like it's a pretty good start. I'm gonna go ahead and attach them with hot glue. The more crinkly you get them, the better. And when you glue them on, it's okay to kind of like switch directions, crinkle them. Just try to give as much interest as possible with that. And then I'm going in for a second row. I'm going to try to get it as close as I can to the first row so you won't be able to see any of that metal through. But again, I want it just to be really random. That's going to make it look its very best. And for my third one, doing the same. And as you can see, that goes really well with like the book page, like tinted that color. I really like that. I think I need one more to kind of cover the gap here between the paper and the metal. And I think that makes a really interesting like looking acorn cap. A little piece I can use here for the stem of the acorn. Just trying to cover all of the metal like I can, and then I can just flip it over and kind of trim up some of the excess so it still retains that really pretty acorn shape. One thing about doing this is it also covers the holes on the top of the acorn, so those won't be a problem either. Now you could spray to seal it. I kind of left mine as is, but I do seal one of the projects today with that, and it actually turned out pretty good. I attach it with a little hot glue here and there, but then I thought I probably need like a spacer in between, so I just took one of those pieces left over from the lunch bags and I folded it into fourths, just using hot glue to glue them all together, and it gave me the perfect depth spacer, and it would have been trash anyway. So I just hot glue that on, gluing it to the frame and to that paper bag spacer. And then to finish it off, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree wood words. This one says Hello Autumn. I'm just going to leave it the unfinished wood. I think it's going to look really pretty with the colors we already have here. And I just glue that right on top of the book page. Isn't this so pretty? I'm really loving it. Now, all of my DIYs today, I'm going to be a lot of like natural materials like this and neutral colors, but also a little bit of green. And I just go ahead and hot glue it to the base. I do one strip of hot glue across, really let that dry and set up. And then I always like to reinforce it with like another bead of hot glue there on the back to make sure it's super strong. I love it, but it does need that little bit of green. So I'm going to use some lamb's ear, and I just pulled off the top. It kind of gave me some tiny leaves, and I really only want the 2 small ones. So I put a little hot glue on the tip and kind of work it behind the acorn. Fits snugly in there, but perfect for just a few leaves on top of the acorn stem. There it is, our little Hello Autumn acorn sign. I think it is really pretty, and I hope you enjoy this DIY. What do you guys think about this one? I don't think I've really DIY'd very much with book pages, but I really love the look of it. I think it's really pretty, especially for fall. And I could really appreciate some autumn weather right about now. Hey guys, are you enjoying today's video so far? If you are, be sure to hit that like button. It always helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to DIY one of these mesh pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. These are not really my style, but look how easy it is to take them apart. You can just pull off the mesh and you're going to get a great metal cage. I want to pull off all of it. If you had a candle on the bottom, I just went ahead and pulled the whole thing out. And what I want to do is turn this into like a paper bag pumpkin. So again, I'm using the paper bags from the Dollar Tree. I think you get like 30 of them in a package for $1.25. And I'm going to need a lot this time, so I do a stack, and I'm just going to cut them all at once. I like to cut the first little strip off to get that little rounded cutout part off of it so I can have some straight lines. And I'm just going to cut strips again, so probably about 1.5 inches. And I try to get as many as I can out of one bag. I just rip it into a strip like this, and then I'm going to crinkle and twist it. So as much like crinkling, the better. I kind of twisted mine a lot on this one. I do go more with like a crinkling technique, but I start here at the very top and I just attach it to the metal cage with hot glue. And then I'm going to do that all the way down the side. I think this is going to be a really good cage for this. I know that you can do this with like a foam pumpkin as well. You're going to have to cover all of it though. I cover most of it because I don't want you to be able to see inside and see all the metal and everything. But I don't cover all of it. So there is going to be a little bit you can see through it. So for the next one, I do the same thing. I just attach here. And for these that are actually on the metal spindles, these are going to be like the sturdiest part of our structure. We are going to go back and add more in between, but right now I want to go ahead and get the structure done first. And so I'm just hot gluing it from the top to that bottom circle and then just cutting off the excess. I guess you could make it go further around, but I don't think it's going to be long enough to go all the way to the other side. You're going to have to start and stop, which I didn't really want to do. I wanted them to all be one piece. And again, I'm gluing them on there just like super random, folding this way and that way. And it really came out with a really fun woven pumpkin design. Now, this one did take a little bit of time, so, you know, put on your favorite YouTuber, put on a good song, and craft. It's really easy to do. It's just a little bit time consuming for how many of these you have to do. So like I'm just taking these and crinkling them up off camera and going to speed this up for you to go fast. But again, I don't really want much overlap at the top. I'm just kind of going from the very top where the circle is and stopping where the circle is on the bottom. Originally, it had like a battery operated candle in there. I'm not going to add that. I just want this to be for decor. Now, some of my leftover pieces were longer than others. Most of them were too short, but a couple of them were long enough where I could kind of hot glue these in. For the first one, I kind of attached it to the one next to it and the top and the bottom, but then I realized I can just attach it from top to bottom. Since it's a paper bag material, it keeps its shape pretty well, and I have so much metal structure going on in the pumpkin that it's fine to kind of be like a floating piece like that. So you're going to need about 2 strips on each one of your gaps to fill it up. This one I only needed 1, but I think all the rest of them I ended up using 2. I guess it's just kind of how far the little metal pieces are from each other. And as you can see, I'm just taking a strip and I am hot gluing it from the top and hot gluing it onto that bottom ring. Those are the only 2 places it is attached. And I'm doing that for each gap. So like, as you can see, like some of those rings stick out further and some of the rings go in further. So it does really have that cool pumpkin shape in the end because of the structure of this cage, which is one reason why I like to craft with this one from Dollar Tree. And again, just cutting, twisting, and lots of gluing. I really love how this turned out. I've seen people do this with like, the large pumpkin wreath forms, which we're going to be doing one of those today. We're not going to be doing this method on it, but I've seen people do this method with that as well, which would be really pretty too. And I've even seen people spray paint them orange afterwards, which I'm not going for all of that warm color today. I really want to stick with like neutrals and the cool greens. So I think it looks pretty good with just the paper bag material. I just shape it a little bit, and then we need to start working on the pumpkin stem. I just went ahead and took a couple of them, like 3 of the leftover strips I had, and just twist them all together to give me some material to start working on this. It's got like a metal pumpkin stem, which is going to be kind of the base that I'm going to start with. I use hot glue and then just wrap it around, gluing that down, covering up that little metal pumpkin stem that was sticking up, but I think it needs more of a pumpkin stem. So I take more of those leftover pieces and I twist them together to give me a large, like gnarly looking pumpkin stem. And I just glue that to what I just made there. I made it kind of long so I can shorten it a little bit, twist it to make it look like a pumpkin stem. And I think this is looking really cute so far. What do you guys think about our paper bag pumpkin? Now to decorate it, I wanted to do some leaves. I'm going to go ahead and make a paper leaf using a page out of that same book I got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm using one of their little leaves from the Dollar Tree as a stencil. And I'm just going to kind of sketch that out with my bronze Sharpie so I'll know where to cut. And again, just kind of pick a place on the page and then go ahead and cut out this maple leaf shape. I think this is going to be very neutral. It's going to look really pretty against the paper bag pumpkin, and it's just the perfect size. Now I was trying to decide which side of the paper I liked better, but again, I'm going to age this one too with some Antique Wax by Waverly mixed with water. I get the perfect shade of Distressing. I like that. And again, it's super wet, but it dries with just a heat gun, and then we can craft with this. Now, I did have the Sharpie edges on the one side, but I kind of want it to be a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to do the other side and just slightly go around the edges, just edging it with that bronze Sharpie to give it that like kind of like burnt like look. And I really enjoyed crafting with the paper bags today and with the book pages. Really fun. I'm doing the empty nest thing here where I'm really sad that my son is off at college again. I'm really happy with him being there and proud of him, but I miss him so much. Empty nest is hard, guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been there. Now, I also wanted to do like one of these little craft wood leaves, and they also have a maple leaf like this. I picked this up at the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. I do want to add a little bit of color to it. First, I went ahead and cut the stem off of it to make it just fit a little bit better. And then I want it to be a soft green color, kind of like the lamb's ear. So I'm mixing some like leaf green with just some white to get like the really fun color of green that I wanted, and just using a makeup sponge, I am going to lightly paint that. A makeup sponge works great for this because you're not going to get paint stuck it down in all those little nooks and crevices there on the leaf. So I think that looks really pretty, really subtle little detail, and I'm going to glue that on with some hot glue right here next to the book page leaf. Now to finish it off, I kind of wanted a little tendril. I had some of this berry garland from the Dollar Tree, but it had these orange and red fall leaves on it, which I didn't really want the color, so I just cut them off. I just wanted the little wire tendril that I wrap around a paintbrush to give me a little curly tendril for my pumpkin. And since it's kind of open, I can kind of put that down inside the paper and it stays right in place. And there it is, our little paper bag pumpkin. I think it is so beautiful. You could decorate this for really any style. I really like the idea of leaving it just the plain brown and not painting it. But doesn't that look really cool? It looks so much better than it did before. I don't think you can really tell that that is the same pumpkin. Really fun, and I'm loving the paper bag crafting. Hey guys, I would love to see your DIYs. If you've made something from my channel or one of your own original creations, be sure to check the description of the video for my private Facebook group and join us over there. Okay, for the next DIY, I wanted to do a fall candle. I'm going to be using a Dollar Tree candle holder and this beautiful green like candle holder on the top. I think these are going to be really good. For the brown, instead of using the paper bag on this one, I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. I kind of tried it with the paper bag and I didn't really like it on this kind of surface. So I think that the brown rope is going to be perfect. So I just start here at the base. Doesn't really matter what color you're getting. I was looking for a round one, and I don't really mind that the top kind of has that mint green because it's going to match that candle holder that I'm going to put on top of it. But I'm going to cover the rest of it with hot glue. So I go all the way around with some hot glue right on the edge of it, and then just going to continue that all the way up. Now, the more hot glue you use, it's going to stay in place better. So I'm kind of doing like one section at a time and hot gluing that rope to it. Now, this is like the thinner rope from Dollar Tree. I almost had enough to cover the entire thing. I did fall a little bit short. I am hot gluing it, and then like right here, the little bumpy part in the middle, you're still going to get that great shape and everything if you follow that, and it's going to give you this really cool candlestick. So I continue that around, again, using hot glue as I go so everything kind of stays in place. And see, I told you I was just a little bit short with my first package of rope, but no big deal. I can just start a new package right here where I stopped. And my seam actually was on the back of it, well, the back where the seam where I started, so that will be easy to hide if you could see it. Kind of cutting it at an angle here for the very top. I go all the way up to the lip of the candle holder. And the rope looks pretty good. I am going to go ahead and just use my lighter to kind of burn off any fuzzies to really make it look a little bit more professional and cut off all of the fuzz that this kind of rope sometimes has. I want all my edges to be clean and everything to look nice and round. And isn't that a really pretty fall candle holder? I love it. The little splash of green with the candle holder I think is going to be really pretty. And I want to do some fall touches using acorns and corn. So for the acorns, these are just the little foam acorns from the Dollar Tree. I didn't want them to be kind of like brown on brown though, so I'm just painting mine ivory just for fun. I'm going to leave the caps themselves, but you know what? These actually look pretty cool when you paint them, but painting them like white over the dark brown, I did have to do like a total of 3 coats to get good coverage on those, but be careful when you're drying yours if you have like a heat gun because they are made out of foam and they will kind of melt on you. So I was trying to dry them sparingly. So they look pretty good. I'm just going to attach them with some Dollar Tree twine. I just cut a piece and wrap it around this top part of the candlestick and double knot that, leaving 2 pieces of twine hanging down that I can attach to the acorns. I just do some hot glue on the acorn stem, and then I am going to wrap that twine around, trying to get it to hang right about where I want it. And I think 2 of them is going to look really pretty. So I do the same thing here with our second acorn. And this time I add the glue to the twine itself and just kind of wrap that around the little acorn stem. And now they dangle down 2 little acorns on the front, really giving the fall effect of the candlestick. Isn't this so pretty? I'm loving the colors that I used today. They go great with my decor. Now this is the candle holder. It's kind of, they have these in like different colors. This one's kind of the greenish one. I'm going to attach it to make sure it stays in place with some hot glue on the candlestick and putting the candle holder right on top. I wanted this size candle holder so I could fill it up with some corn. I thought that'd be fun for fall. And since it's kind of tinted green, it's going to take away some of the yellow color from the corn. I'm just using some popcorn that I had. And I don't fill it up too full. I just do a little bit of corn and then using a Dollar Tree like little votive candle. I had like a vanilla one, so it's not super colorful. I just nest that down inside the corn and we have a really beautiful fall candle holder. Isn't that so pretty? I really love those candle holders on top there with the different colors. They're so shiny and just a little bit of color. And the candlestick is really fun as well with the rope and the little white acorns. This is what it looks like lit up. I think it's super cozy and beautiful for fall. Hey guys, if you visited my website yet, it is craftybeach.net. It's an archive of all of my YouTube videos where you can see the photos that you can pin on Pinterest so you can remember to go back and DIY all the fun projects we do here. Okay, for the next DIY, we're doing one of the large pumpkin wreath forms from Dollar Tree. And I want to cover it with some of their lamb's ear. They have this beautiful lamb's ear at the Dollar Tree. I have lots of left over from like tier trays and stuff like that where I've actually cut it down to size. So I have tons of leaves and you know what? They pull right off, which makes them really fun for crafting. I've seen these pumpkin wreath forms done a million ways, but I've never seen them covered with like plants, like a wreath. So I wanted to see if I could pull it off just using the petals of the lamb's ear. I'm just attaching it with some hot glue, kind of overlapping the bottom a little bit on my first wire, and then I'm going to just kind of have them like kind of tumbling down. So I want them all like kind of tilting an opposite direction like that, but slightly overlapping the leaf below them. And this was actually a really easy way to cover one of these wreath forms. I'd kind of looked to see if anybody else had done it like this or used any greenery at all on these, but everybody almost always uses fabrics or ribbons, and I've made a ton of things. I've used wood beads, but you know what? I really like the look of the lamb's ear. I'm a huge fan of this. Now, some of the pieces are like 2 leaves or 3 leaves, which are a little smaller. And if they're bent up, you can always iron them with your heat gun. I'm going to try to use some of the bigger leaves for most of these parts. I can save some of the smaller ones to go around the border of the pumpkin, where I have to kind of go in between the different wired sections. That would work really well. And I want it to be really random. I don't want it to be symmetrical at all with like the one next to it. Just kind of whatever works, and just attaching it with hot glue. Now, I am going to be using this wreath form indoors. I don't know how well the hot glue would hold up outdoors if you were going to have some weather or some heat. So keep that in mind if you're going to recreate. I'm definitely making this one for indoors, and you'll see because we're going to be adding so many fun things to this that I don't think it would really hold up too well outside, but I guess if you have a covered porch, it probably wouldn't be too bad. So we have the 3 wires on the left covered with leaves, and now all we have to do is do the same thing over here. Whenever I see the Dollar Tree lamb's ear, they have it in the large ones and kind of the shorter ones. I always try to pick it up. I just think it's so beautiful. I used to have to get this at Walmart, so I was really excited to see that Dollar Tree carries it now. I do mix a few small leaves in here and there where I can. Just what's ever going to work to make it fit to go all the way down the pumpkin stem. And as you can see, it's already looking really pretty here with each one of these wires with cascading leaves going all the way down. So all of the middle wires or sections, I guess, of the pumpkin are covered with leaves. So now we can do the border of the pumpkin too. So again, I'm going to cut down all of the small leaves because I think those might come in handy on this part. I noticed the small ones aren't quite as easy to glue down, but I was able to get them. But see how some of the smaller ones work really perfectly in between some of the wire pieces there? I want to cover up all of the wire. I don't want you to be able to see any of that. And the leaves do a great job. At first, I was going to leave these like kind of in bundles and attach them going all the way up, but I thought it would be too full. I really like the idea of just using individual leaves. I think it turned out perfect for this pumpkin wreath form. So again, just doing the border, I go here on the left side and cover it completely. It's kind of a larger side, so I can use some of the larger leaves, kind of mixed together with some smaller ones just for some variety. And I'm going to cover everything except for the wire for the pumpkin stem. I do have another idea for that part. And see, the construction on this was actually pretty fast. A lot of times, like when you're weaving in and out, when you're stringing beads and stuff like that, this pumpkin wreath form can be really time consuming because it's so large. But I love the way this one turned out. It just turned out, it's like such a work of art. Big fan. definitely going to have to keep this one. And then for the pumpkin stem, I thought rope would be good, but all I have is this thin rope from the Dollar Tree. But I think if I use enough of it, I can kind of make a big, gnarly pumpkin stem and kind of make it look 3D. So I'm going to start with the bottom layer just by cutting a piece the length that I want, using that as a template and cutting more. It's going to take like 4 or 5 at least. Maybe even 6 to cover this lip pumpkin stem. I start gluing it here on the stem on the right. Kind of gives me something to glue to, and then I do it on the left. Now the rest of the pumpkin stem, I'm going to have to glue it to the rope next to it because I really don't have anything else to glue to besides the top and the bottom of that. But no big deal, it glues together really well. I'm trying to make all of my curves all go to the right because I want my pumpkin stem to like kind of veer that way and to be larger than the pumpkin stem on the wreath form. You can even kind of unravel the rope at the end to kind of make it look more ragged, more like a pumpkin. And then I'm going to go in with another layer, just 3 here in the middle to kind of get more of a 3D vibe going on this one. And we're actually going to add more to that once I decorate the top of this. But for now, I think that's looking pretty good. I think it just needed something a little bit different for the pumpkin stem than the lamb's ear leaves. Now for the back of it, I'm going to cover it with some burlap. Now normally I would not do this, but I want to fill it with pumpkins. So I needed something to attach them to, and I needed a background. So I got some burlap from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to give it a quick iron because as you can see the way they package it, it's all rolled up. You're definitely going to need to iron it so that you can work with it. And I'm just going to use my Cricut Easy Press for that. That looks way better. I'm going to leave it all one piece and cut it later. I just need to attach it to the back to give a back to our pumpkin wreath. And I think the burlap's going to go with like kind of the brown colors that we're using today. It's not going to really stand out much. It's going to go great with the color scheme. So I just start here on the top, add hot glue to that metal wreath form, and attach my burlap. And I'm just going to go around working one section at a time and trying to pull it taut as I go. So it's more of like a background and it's the very back. So it's going to be against the wall, not against the inside of the pumpkin. So again, I just do one section at a time and I try to hot glue all of it down. That way I can just go around and cut it once it starts to dry up, which is now. I'm cutting it as close as I can to the metal wreath form. The great thing about the leaves being there is they are going to hide any of the burlap that normally you would be able to see. So it kind of masks that. So again, I just go around and just cut it as close as I can get to the hot glue. The hot glue is going to seal the burlap edge and make it not ravel out as well. And again, just being really careful that I don't cut any of the leaves by mistake. And we have a back to our pumpkin wreath form now. I am loving it. I love the colors. They work so well together. And I want to like use it like a cage and fill it up with some pumpkins. So I grabbed as many of these sweater pumpkins that I could find in ivory at my store. I think I counted, I had a total of 17. And they come 3 to a package. You could always use larger ones. I really loved the texture of the sweater pumpkins though. So that's why I wanted this one. So I'm going to use every one I have. I just use heat to get the metal clip off the bottom. And then I'm going to hot glue them to the burlap back. You can also glue them to the leaves too, just wherever you need to glue them to make them stay in place. I did notice the little metal clips get really hot if you use your heat gun to melt them off. So be super careful with that. I got to where I wasn't really even touching the clips. I was just kind of prying them off. But there's no like stick or anything on the bottom of those. They're just attached with like probably a hot glue. So they're really easy to melt off like that. And you can kind of remove any of the excess glue if it bothers you, but most of it you won't be able to see on these. And I'm just filling up the very bottom of the pumpkin, hot gluing these all next to each other, kind of like one in each one of the pumpkin sections. And I'm going to keep working with these until I run out. I just want it to be like a third full of pumpkins. I thought that'd be really fun. I thought about making them like go higher on one side to make it kind of asymmetrical, but I wanted to hang even, so I thought I would do a more balanced pile. So this is my second row. I'm kind of gluing them in between the pumpkins underneath of them, so they will kind of nestle in between the pumpkin stems, and I'm gluing them all on their side like that, so they're all like pumpkin stem up, basically, and doing a second row there. Now for the third row, I'm not going to do as many because I'm going to start running out of pumpkins, and I do want to do like a second level on some of those. So I have enough to do like 3 here. I'm going to kind of do them more in the middle of my pumpkin pile like that. And then to finish it up, I have 3 more, and I'm just going to glue those to the other pumpkins, piling them on top. This one goes almost to the top of the pumpkin, just to give it some more interest, make it look like a big pile of pumpkins inside of my pumpkin wreath. I love the neutral color of the white sweater. I think that looks really pretty. And just getting rid of any like hot glue strings that might have accumulated in the process. And again, I counted, it ended up being a total of 17 of these I had. But I love them. I think they're so cute. Now, I think that looks pretty good, but we do need to kind of make a hanger for this one. But I thought I could use the original metal one, but since I kind of hot glued the rope on there, it is not super accessible anymore. So I'm just going to loop and knot just some Dollar Tree twine, and I'm going to glue that to the burlap and the rope here on the back to make kind of a hidden hanger that I can hang this on my wall. Now for the top, I did not want to do a bow. I wanted something a little bit more natural, so I'm going to use some of these beautiful like silver dollars from the fall section at Dollar Tree. I love the neutral color of these, and they pull right off. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them all off. And there is a total of 5. I'm going to go ahead and use them all, and I'm going to attach them to the pumpkin stem like this, where they'll kind of come down. I can have some of them inside the pumpkin, some of them outside. I just hot glue that to the rope pumpkin stem, which we're going to add more rope to, which is going to hide those plastic stems, no problem. So I do another one for this kind of section right here by kind of gluing that upside down on that pumpkin, and then again one for this section, and then the other sections toward the side are a little bit further out, but I'm going to still try to attach some here, and I'll kind of arrange them however I think they look better. I just think that the fall florals look prettier than a bow, and I didn't really want to take away from the beautiful elements going on, so I think that looks good. Now to hide the plastic stems that I just glued on, and to make the pumpkin stem even thicker, I'm adding some more of that Dollar Tree rope, still on the same package, and just cutting strips to kind of go with what I had before, but again, kind of sandwiching in the plastic from the florals that we added there to the top. I'm going to do a total of 4 here. I think that's going to be plenty. And again, you can kind of unwind the tops or even the bottoms to kind of make them look more gnarly like a pumpkin stem. I think that looks pretty good. It's going to help secure and hold all of those florals in place. And I like some of them kind of dangling down inside like that. And this is how it turned out, our pumpkin wreath DIY. I love it. Definitely the most interesting one I think I've ever made. I've made so many of these on my channel, the pumpkin wreath forms. I always have to grab one every year because I always want to try something new. And I really love how this one turned out. What do you guys think about my pumpkin wreath? Hey guys, have you subscribed to my channel yet? I noticed over half of you guys are not subscribed, but if you could subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to do a pumpkin DIY. I picked up an oval wood sign from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree and one of their wood pumpkins that they have every year. It's kind of a nice large size pumpkin, and I think it's going to be really cute for this project. It did have a little bit of splinters here and there, so I'm just going to go ahead and give my pumpkin a quick sanding. Now I want to use that book that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to do some book pages. So I'm looking for some good pages to use for this, kind of seeing what words are written on in them. And I want to do 3 different sections of pumpkin. I want 2 of them to be book pages and 1 section of the pumpkin to be the paper bag. So I'm going to do the 2 outer sections as book pages like that. Attaching them, I'm going to go ahead and age them as well. Like I did before, I really think I like that look. So just again, antique wax by Waverly mixed with water. I think brown acrylic paint would probably give you kind of the same effect. Or again, you could stain with like tea or coffee as well. I go over it with a foam brush, kind of patting off the excess. Did get a little bit of wrinkling on this one, but that's okay. I kind of like that effect. Makes it look older. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the page for the other side. I'm just leaving them as whole sheets at this time, and I can always cut off the excess later. I just need to go ahead and start the drying process on these because, again, they are super wet. That was mostly water. And just a little bit of antique wax by Waverly. But my heat gun works really well for this and dries these in no time. And as you can see, as it dries, the stain does get a little bit lighter, but it definitely looks aged and exactly what I was going for. So time to attach these to the 2 sections of the pumpkin, the 2 outer sections. And then we'll use that oval for the middle section of the pumpkin. It's going to make it kind of pop out a little bit, make it more 3D. I cover the left side of the pumpkin with a nice thin layer of Mod Podge and lay the book page on there, trying to give it, kind of get it level if I can, and smooth that out with my hands dry to make sure that I don't tear any of the paper as I do that. We're going to do the same thing here on the other side. I was trying to cut off the title and stuff as much as I can and just get the words on there. And I don't really care about the middle section because it's going to be covered up with the wood sign that you see there. And so I want to make sure that it is glued down really well, though, on all the edges of the pumpkin. And if you kind of go around that, you can see how it'll kind of crease already. I gave it a quick dry with my heat gun, and then I'm going to go in and just use a sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree to give me that perfect cut for the pumpkin shape. You do have to make sure it's dry for this part so you don't tear any paper that you don't intend to. But as you can see, it does a great job of cutting it down to the perfect pumpkin size. Right here under the stem was a little tricky because I couldn't get my sanding sponge in there. But same thing here on the other side. I just sand it all the way around to cut off my excess paper. Again, I don't care about the middle section of the pumpkin because we're going to be using that wood oval there for the center section, like that. Now, I want to DIY that part of the pumpkin as well. I also want to do something about the pumpkin stem. I thought twine would be really good and go with everything, be really easy to do. So I just started on the back of the pumpkin stem with a little bit of hot glue until I can start wrapping it. It is some kind of like strange angles that you have to wind it. But you can always go back and kind of wrap it again to fill up any gaps that might be missing. And I wanted to leave the existing hanger on there if I could, so I'm trying to like wrap it and kind of work around it. I want it to still hang level, if at all possible, but I kind of go in and out of that one as well to kind of, make it stay in place. And then towards the tip, you're going to have to use some hot glue to make it stay in place. And then I kind of glue it to itself to completely cover the wooden end of the pumpkin stem. I'm just doing that shape. I'm not going to add any more to it. I think that's fine. And it doesn't really get in the way of this little bump out part that I want to use here for this section of the pumpkin. Now for that section, I want to do the paper bag technique on that one. So again, I'm just going to take a couple of the lunch bags from the Dollar Tree and cut some strips, like 1.5 inches. I just go ahead and crinkle it up. I'm actually kind of like wadding this up. I notice the more that you crinkle it or wad it up like that, the easier it is to work with. I start here on the outer edge of the oval, and again, hot gluing that down, making it like fold and bend and do kind of like whatever direction it kind of wants to do. And what I'm going to do is kind of like spiral this around. So where one stops, I can start a new one. And it's so forgiving because of the random nature of it that you can't really see where you start and stop. And then I'm just going to keep going, kind of spiraling it. Since it is like a round shape, it's really easy to kind of just loop it like you would do with like rope or something like that. So again, just a lot of crinkling and twisting that and then hot gluing it down. But I think this is going to give it a really interesting texture. I think it's going to look really pretty against the book pages of the pumpkin. And this coordinates really well with the paper bag and book page acorn DIY. So again, it's super forgiving. I'm trying to make sure I cover all of the wood. If you find there's like any little gaps peeking out, you can always tear off a piece of the paper bag and go in and patch it. Super easy. You're not going to be able to see where you start and stop. I just need a small piece here for the very middle. And I try to clean up any hot glue that might be visible. And then again, I'm just going to go in, rip off some little pieces of paper and patch any areas where I can see through it a little bit. That looks pretty good. It really has the oval shape that I wanted, but I think I can trim it up a little bit just to make it even better. I don't really want to take away any of the folds or anything like that, but I do want it to have the oval shape. So this is going to go on the front part of the pumpkin. It's going to give it a lot of texture and depth. And I just use hot glue to attach that to my sign, kind of doing hot glue all over. And this makes the perfect middle section here for our pumpkin. Now we have like the browns, the natural colors on this one. I did want to add a few leaves to it. And so I'm going to use a combination of the lamb's ear and the Dollar Tree burlap leaves. Now this is way too big. So what I'm going to do is just pop the wire off the back, and it's just going to give me the fabric that I can cut down. And it doesn't have to be a fall leaf shape. I'm actually going to cut it to be more of a traditional leaf shape, kind of to go a little bit more with the lamb's ear. So I just cut it down to like whatever scale I want, a little oval, and then kind of cut it with some pointier ends to give it that leaf feel. I think that's going to go great with the different browns. And then for the touch of green on this one, we're going to use a lamb's ear. I wanted to add maybe 2 of the green leaves and 1 of the burlap. So I went ahead and cut like the 2 that were attached together. I'm going to glue 1 right here on top of the pumpkin stem. And I can cover that up with the burlap leaf as well, so you won't be able to see the stem. I'm going to have that one kind of point up, and then the other one, I can kind of make it more 3D by like attaching it to the back, and I just glue that to the back of the pumpkin stem. But kind of all the leaves bundled together, kind of all going out one direction. Not a lot of fuss, just something really simple to decorate the top of it. And this is how it turned out. Our paper bag and book page pumpkin. I really hope you're enjoying these DIYs today. I've never really crafted with paper bags before, but I was a big fan. I think they're just a really great material to craft fall DIYs with, and the book page look, I really love that. Now, I did not darken the edges of this one around the edges, but you could totally do that as well if you wanted to. Now I wanted to do like a fall floral. So we're just going to take a Dollar Tree mason jar and see if we can kind of do like a similar technique on this. Again, the paper lunch bags from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut strips of these to see if I can do it like a similar effect on the jar to cover it up, just to make it look like a fun fall planter. So again, just cutting strips, trying to get as many strips as I can out of these. Even if I overlap the bottom a little bit there, no big deal. And I just wanted to do a simple fall floral with lamb's ear, some of the pampas grass, and some of the Dollar Tree pumpkins. So again, I take my paper bag and just crinkle my strip up as much as I can. I've seen one person did this. They braided theirs, and they covered like a large vase or pot or something with it. I did try braiding some of this, and I didn't really like the way it looked. I liked it more like crinkled up like this than trying to actually braid it. And braiding is kind of hard. I don't know if it's because these lunch bags are thin, but I found that the material wanted to tear a little bit. So we're just going to scrunch it like we've been doing. I just start at the base of the mason jar and attach it with hot glue. There's enough to go around once, and you could do that, but I'm going to kind of spiral it to kind of make sure I use all the materials I can. And again, the more you wad it up, the better it's going to work and look as you're gluing it on. I want it to kind of be going all different directions and folds. And it actually covers quite a bit as well. This is just the small mason jar. I didn't want anything too big. I just wanted kind of a small floral that's going to coordinate with other DIYs that we've made today. And again, just a lot of twisting and crinkling and hot gluing, but it gives you a really fun effect. Now, this is the project that I'm also going to seal. It's the first one that I sealed, being a planter or a vase. I thought I would try to make it a little bit more durable with sealing it, and I wanted to see how the paper bag holds up to the sealer being applied to it, and I was pleasantly surprised. Kind of makes it harder, a little bit more durable, but nothing too different in color or anything like that. So again, I just continue that spiral all the way up, kind of like if I was covering something like the candle holder in rope. And I want to cover all of it all the way up around the top of the jar too. But I'm not really going to go inside the jar or anything like that. Just all the way up to the lip. And again, this is super forgiving. And if you do have a piece that's folded out a little bit, you can always hot glue it down so it doesn't stick out too much. But it almost gives you a natural ruffle effect. So this is what it looks like. I told you I was going to seal it. For the sealer, I'm just going to use some Mod Podge clear acrylic sealer that I have. And I just wanted to see if this would make it a little bit more durable. Just because the nature of being a vase, I don't know. I thought I would try it. And at first it makes the paper bag darker, which I was worried that it was kind of going to change the color. But after a quick dry with my heat gun, it lightened up to really look like all the other projects that we did today. But look at all that fun texture. I think the color is perfect for a fall vase. It's pretty thin. I'm just going to cut down some floral foam from the Dollar Tree, just a couple pieces just to fill it up. So I have something to put the florals in. To cover that up, I use a little bit of that brown floral moss that they have. Just to go to the very top of the vase. Now, the pampas grass is some of the fall colors. I would guess it's a fall color. It's kind of a tan color. I'm going to kind of cut them in individual pieces. This one had 4 on there. I'm just going to need 3. I like to work with odd numbers, so I kind of put one of the pampas grass going out in each direction. I usually don't mix this with any other greenery, but for fun, I thought I would try mixing it with some lamb's ear. Now, these are the shorter lamb's ear bundles that you can get at the Dollar Tree. The other ones are quite a bit taller. So I think these are going to work perfectly for the size jar. I think they're going to be just about the right size. I'm just going to leave it all attached, put one on this side, and then I'm going to do the same thing here with the second bundle on the other side. It's not a super large jar, so it's not going to take a lot to fill it up. But I kind of like the contrast with the pampas grass and the lamb's ear. It's definitely an interesting combination for fall and a little bit unexpected. Now for the pumpkins, I wanted to make my own little pumpkin picks using some Dollar Tree pumpkins. These are the ones that have the wires on them. But I liked them because they were small and they were ivory, so I was going to go with the color scheme. I'm going to use a total of 3 of them and make 3 picks, just using some kitchen skewers from the kitchen section at Dollar Tree. And I don't think I need to shorten them at all. I think they're about the right length. You could always stain these if you wanted. I'm just going to leave them natural. I just poked them into the bottom of the foam pumpkins, trying to make sure I don't go all the way through. and just poke that down into the floral foam. Again, I like to work with odd numbers for most things with florals. I'm just going to do one every like 1/3 of the way around. Very subtle, very easy fall floral arrangement, and using the paper bag technique for the jar. And I think that looks pretty good. You can kind of arrange it, make sure it is everything's exactly where you want it to be, but definitely interesting and fun for fall. It's definitely not like any of the fall florals that I've made in the past. The pampas grass is a little crazy looking, but I kind of like that look. And the paper bag technique for the jar, I think, turned out really cool. Has so much texture. I don't think you would be able to guess that that was made out of a paper bag for sure. But I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Okay, you've made it to the final reveal for all 6 of the DIYs we made today. Hopefully you got some fun fall crafting inspiration. Be sure to let me know which one was your favorite in the comments below. I always love reading all of your comments, and it helps me make my best of videos later on in the year, knowing which one is your favorite. Enjoy the final reveal.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing, but maybe someplace far.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I'd also like to thank my Crafty Beach Bum members for supporting my channel here on YouTube. Thank you so much to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Wunner, Janae Farrington, Julie Miller, Pamelia Wren, Maria Grace, Donna Schreiner, Sandy C., Live Another Day, Tracy Wooldridge, Maren Christensen, Debbie Middleton, Vicki Connors, Adrian Brolt, Deborah Caldwell, Red Mama, and Tammy Muir. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Mom member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my videos here on YouTube, and it is $4.99 a month, and you're free to cancel at any time. Okay, would you like more fall DIYs? I've got you covered. Check out one of these videos right here, and until next time, happy crafting.